So, Dr. Blackwell, you had at this point established a medical school, an infirmary, a dispensary. You had worked training nurses for the Civil War. What came next?
After the Civil War, I began receiving many letters from my friends in England, and they had taken note of what we had accomplished in America, and they wanted us to come and replicate that. So I decided that this was a time that I would leave Emily in charge of the infirmary and the school in New York, and I would go to England. But I wouldn't go alone. I would take Kitty Berry with me. Kitty was a little girl that came to live with me when she was 7 years old. When I was in early practice, it was quite lonely. Marion and I lived together, but it was still quite lonely. And so we went over to Randall's Island in New York, where the orphanages were. And it was quite common for people to go to the orphanages and find children, and they might bring them home to learn how to be cooks or learn how to be maids. And so I went and saw this darling little Irish girl who was 7. Kitty Berry was her name. And so she came home and lived with me, and in fact still lives with me for my whole life. I never encouraged her to call me Mama. She always called me my doctor. But she has been very helpful to me over the years.
And you brought her with you to England?
Yes. And when we got to England, we had to work on getting a medical school started, and there were many obstacles. First place, the women were not all on the same page. They had different ways of how they were going to accomplish this. And the medical profession was very much against having a women's medical school. But after years, we prevailed. We started the London Medical School for Women, and I took on the post of chairman of gynecology at that time. I didn't have a big practice. It was difficult to have a practice in England, but I was very involved in a lot of the causes that were occurring in England. There were the Contagious Diseases Acts that were, I thought, detrimental to women and not fair, not just between men and women. And so I worked on some of those.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell me more about the laws and regulations and contagious diseases and how these may have affected women differently than men?
Well, the Contagious Diseases Act were passed because the British Empire had basically military people all over the world, and associated with those military men were prostitutes. And so the British laws were passed that the women had to be examined, even if it was against their will, but not the men. And so I thought, because they were concerned about how much the prevalence of venereal disease, syphilis, and so I thought this was unfair, that you had to treat both men and women equally. It took us 16 years, but we had them repealed.
Mm-hmm. So your experience in England was, again, revolutionary. You were instrumental in starting the first medical school for women, an infirmary for women and children, and you addressed some unfairness in the laws and regulations of the state with regard to medical care.
Well, I was also the first woman ever on the British Medical Registry, which I'm very proud of.
Mm-hmm. A remarkable story.